It's a tough road ahead. We have still quite a few people to wake up. We
Yeah,
understand.
but it's the time, you just talk about the 1,000 years of peace. We read Revelation. I read that Bible 6 times cover to cover by the time I was 12, because I'm in the bloodline of Martin Luther.
Oh,
He led a
interesting.
Reformation. It's in my blood,
Interesting.
but I studied that Bible and Revelation and all that. So the 1,000 years of peace and the prophecies, we're at that time, and the Great Awakening will
Yeah.
not be stopped. And the abundance that is promised, that we should inherit, it's coming, and it's all in place. It's all ready. And yeah, we know this.
Yeah, we could feel it. We could see it. We could smell it. We could almost touch it, but we can't prove it because people want to see it on CNN, and it doesn't exist on CNN or Fox. And they're just going to have to get used to that fact. We are the new newscasters.
We are the news now. My dear friend Scotty Sachs talks about how we are the news now. Absolutely. In this time of revelation, there's going to be the great revealing and the exposure of all this stuff being exposed and coming out, all the suppressed stuff. No more secrets that the words fly free is actually a Hawaiian chant. There's no more secrets. Everything's going to come out. It's all going to be exposed.
Okay, folks, we got the one and only Dr. Sandra Rose Michael. She's in the house with us. And before we go any further, folks, just hit the pause button. Follow us on Rumble. The link is down below. Don't forget, we got great merchandise. And go to QFS1776.com, because we are burning down the entire system that was the previous system, and we're never going back to it. So if you want to learn how to charter these waters that are coming, the quantum financial system, QFS 1776 is the holy grail of exactly what's coming. You're not going to have a choice. You have to jump into it. Don't forget to share us on your social media. Dr. Sandra Michael is a creator of the bioscalar EE systems technology. I would love to go into your resume, but I know that we would be here for about 25 minutes reading like a book. Why don't you tell the people what they need to know about you? I know that you were supposedly conceived at Niagara Falls. I know that your parents were nuclear physicists, and you got like 165 IQ. So you're dealing with somebody that's extremely intelligent. So please try to keep an open mind, because I have some pretty amazing questions for Doctor. Welcome to our show.
Hey, aloha. I'm happy to be here. I'm looking forward to finding out what you're going to ask me. This should be interesting. The pizza guy from New York. Yeah. What are you going to ask? Okay, bring it. Let's bring it. That should be fun.
Yeah. Absolutely. Well, I am an animal lover, and my now friend Nino Rodriguez, you know who he is, I'm sure.
Of course.
Yeah. His dog is not doing well. And I figured I open up the show with that. But I did send him your videos, and I said, would you please do me a favor and just watch these? Because in your second part with Jason Shirka, he talks specifically about animals in the first 5-6 minutes. Can you go a little bit into that and how this technology could help Nino Rodriguez's dog?
Okay. Well, we just love miracles. And I'll tell you what, animals are a whole lot easier than humans. And we've seen like crazy miracles, but understand it's applied integrative biophysics, by the way. Applied means we talk about how well does it work? This isn't theoretical, intellectual physics. This is physics. When you call biophysics, it's how it relates to the body and to cells and to life, literally life. So with this, it's like, how do we raise that life force energy at a cellular level? And basically, the power that made the body heals the body. It's like plugging the body back into the cosmic light socket, universal unlimited power on. And I know Jason Shirka talked about his dog with a small dog, a very small girl. I did meet this dog with no tumor. It was totally gone. And it was a large tumor for that small sized dog. And it was gone after a few sessions in the technology there between New York and New Jersey. So, that's one. But I'll give another example of a cat. I mean, we've had a lot with animals, but I'll give an example. I had a federal judge did not want to put down her cat. She'd had the cat since he was a kitten, brought the cat, was 17 years old, brought like this, with skin and bones. Cat couldn't walk, wasn't eating, wasn't drinking, was on dialysis, was on IVs. But she didn't want to put him on. That somebody told her to bring the cat, brought the cat, put it in the middle of the system. After 2 hours, the cat got up and went and got a drink of water himself. Second time, he jumped right up onto the bed, right in the middle of the system. But you know what the good thing is? I didn't have to explain anything to the cat. Nothing. Anyway, the cat lived another 5 years or so, but
I love that. That's a great story. That's awesome. Now, I understand that you were summoned by some off-world powers. You hinted at least at that when you spoke with Jason in one of your interviews. I know for sure, I watched them both twice. Riveting. I mean, he did his fantastic job. I hope to be as good as Jason one day. I'm still rough around the edges. I'm the pizza guy from New York that is trying to wing it. Okay. But basically, you have had off-world experiences or off-world context. Could you tell us a little bit more about that? I think the people are dying. I had a gentleman from Oregon, Darren, and his wife Gina sent me that question specifically. So Darren, this one's for you, buddy.
Oh gosh. Yeah, because normally, obviously at MIT or at different ministries of health, this is not what would be on topic or be anything I'd be discussing.
Obviously.
I can go right down all the physics, the nuclear physics, the quantum physics, but the biophysics, applied integrated biophysics, but it's electrical, mechanical, structural, engineering, and physics is how I see everything. However, yes, I've been something of a contactee and with the memories my whole life. So, I can talk about that. And I also worked very, very closely with another contactee, Dr. Fred Bell. I don't know if you remember him. Absolute wild man. I actually have one of his books right here. The Inside Track. Let's see. No, Rays of Truth, Crystals of Light. Dr. Fred Bell. He was a nuclear physicist with NASA. By age 16, his uncle was Alexander Graham Bell. He was in the lab since he was 8. I have a whole parallel story, crazy hyper geniuses, but he was a Pleiadian contactee as well. And so I worked with Fred for like 15 years because we had very, very similar experiences and upbringing. As far as, I was doing the same thing. I was doing all the top secret government science experiments, from the time I was a kid, probably about the same age, doing all the Tesla coils and, as I talk about my favorite toys being Geiger counters and gyroscopes. And I really thought everybody's favorite toys must be those. I had collections of them, loved them. Healing all the animals on the farm and all that kind of stuff. But I came in with my memories of Atlantis and was talking about that from the time I could talk, because that's the most parallel time to this time on the planet, really, because they were doing all the same dumb stuff there, the abuse of scalar weaponry. They were doing the hijacking of the DNA and chimeras and all that kind of stuff. Well, we need to create the quantum leap of consciousness now. We need to create a cataclysm of consciousness rather than a planetary cataclysm of other things. Let's get it right this time and create a cataclysm of consciousness using technology, because we have to use technology to create the counterpoint to all the technology that's being used against us and all the bioweapons and all that kind of thing. But when I was requested that I do this, take on this project, it's designed to bring the DNA back to its original divine blueprint. And so part of what I was asked to do was to recreate what we have on the ships, and what we call the recalibration chambers, and recreate that here to be able to keep the DNA in its original divine design. That's our God code. So, because we used it on the ships, like going from hyperspace or going between different planets or battles or whatever it was, because we are in in a spiritual battle right now between the, you know, between good and evil. It's a spiritual battle for the souls of mankind going on this planet, played out in the healthcare arena at this time, which is part of the prophecies brought back by Daniel Brinkley, who's another good friend of mine. Maybe you know who that is. Saved by the light, into the light, hit by lightning 3 times. He's a DEA agent. He's a mercenary, was sent back with prophecies, how the battle for the souls of mankind would be fought in the healthcare arena. Highly recommend people get his book or listen to Daniel. Daniel Brinkley is fabulous, another great friend of mine. I'm very, very blessed in that I've dealt with all these great souls, great, amazing souls. So like with Fred Bell, that same thing, we're, you know, doing all this work with scalar. And how do we use that to create the counterbalance, to really, you know, create that override of the detrimental things, because we're living in a toxic soup, being bombarded 24/7 with the EMF, the ELF, radiation, microwave. And I know radiation literally from the inside out, because my mother was that nuclear physicist fissioning plutonium in the labs the whole time she was pregnant with me, working on the bomb. And so instead she got me and my dad doing stealth bombers and Mach 3 and all this stuff. And so I came in going, now, how do we heal the world? How do we bring healing to all of this? You know, so that's, you know, in spite of all these mad Atlantean scientists run amok.
Yeah.
How do we heal it all?
Exactly.
So I was told to bring that technology here. And in the process of developing it, I mean, it's, you know, I've been teaching holistic health more than 45 years. I built my first scalar healing light chamber after all kinds of experiments and research and using material from NASA. And I was running a power management equipment company. But in 1978, I built my first scalar healing light chamber in my spa. And you could really see this as an energy spa or a light spa, a healing energy light spa, that you're bathing in light, because the DNA is biophotonic, which means that's your quantums of light. The DNA, prime function of DNA is storage of photons. That's our divine light, really. So, you know, so I had built that in 1978 in my spa. So I've got a lot of long time research into all the healing modalities. Studied Rife and radionics and biophotonics in the early 70s. So that this project, bringing it forward, it was designed to activate the 12 strands of the DNA. And this was a great experiment on this planet in that there was the seeding of the DNA, you know, for this planet, to create the planet to be habitable for this evolutionary process of being in this free will zone. It's a very, very creative planet. And it's this amazing place where it's very creative, so to speak, and a divine experiment because the only real learning, the only real lesson is love, unconditional love. That's really it. God is love. And it's about remembering who we are, all that we are, how highly we're connected, you know, that we are these divine bodies and beings of light, the sons and daughters of God. So I also had to listen to all these different races that helped seed the DNA. They each had to have their input into the technology of how, because it's designed to bring all of our DNA back into that unified presence, the divine presence, activating the light at the core of our DNA, light within us, into that full realization of our own Christed beingness, that we are the free, sovereign sons and daughters of God. And we have access to unlimited power, infinite intelligence, unconditional love, should we choose to accept it, right?
Absolutely.
Time to remember who we are. Because if we have access to unlimited power, infinite intelligence, unconditional love, what's the problem? Can all be easy. We just have to, you know, it's what I talk, you know, being a kahuna, or recognized as a kahuna, I share access codes. Well, it's time to stop just sitting on your access and access your power and allow the power to rise up from that seat of power within you, to rise up the spine, which is meant to be that standing column or wave. And we're meant to be like pillars in the temple, pillars in the temple of God. And when we stand strong in our light, in our love, when we stand together, that's when God wins. When we come together as pillars in the temple of God, that's when God wins. And this is the great timing that we're in. The second coming is really from within us, that total remembrance and total access to all that's ours. So to walk the planet as the fully realized God, goddess beings in perfect balance, and to create a new heaven and a new earth through us here now. So anyway, that's the spiritual side of my technology, but although I
That's
can
amazing.
talk all the cellular mechanisms of action till the cows come home.
Well, I knew that eventually I would be interviewing people of your caliber. That's why I had to go get a seat of power. You know what I mean?
It's a wing chair for you to wing it in.
Exactly. Bingo, you got it. Now you remember vividly, supposedly, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm hearing you correctly, your previous lives, and you mentioned Atlantis, which is one of the subjects that is, uber interesting to me for years. Talk to us a little bit about that, please.
Oh gosh, what do you want to know about it?
I want to know how much you remember, what you remember. Were you a scientist in that life? What were you dare to do? Where was Atlantis located? Give us any information you can give us.
Yeah, because I was talking about it from the time I could talk with the memories, because it is the most parallel time to what we're dealing with on the planet. And that which is referred to in the cataclysm is also referred to as the flood, in the Bible. So it's, that they had run amok, and, so there's a correction. There was a realignment that needed to occur. But rather than a cataclysm on the planet again, let's get it right. Let's get it right this time. And right use of energy. That's what righteousness is. It means right use. And use the technologies to override the detrimental, destructive frequencies and energies with a higher power, the power of love. But back in Atlantis, for me, I was the last life there, because Atlantis covered a long period of time, and before that was Lemuria. So there's Lemurian memories, there's Atlantean memories, but Atlantis, my last time there was was overlooking the sea with a healing temple as high priestess in a healing temple there, and I was doing everything to try to stop the destruction, and stop the scientists from doing what they were doing. And we were doing everything to try to stop that. But that it is overlooking the ocean, what's now a spot on the planet that's now called Crete. So you might relate to that a little bit as far as where was Atlantis.
Yeah, Atlantis, from what I understand, Doctor, correct me if I'm wrong, but they were much more advanced than planet Earth is right now. Am I correct?
That's correct. Yeah,
Okay.
but doing a lot of the same dumb stuff.
Okay.
And there was more direct extraterrestrial connections and things too, as far as using more of those technologies. Not that they're not using it right now, because they're in the secret space program and different programs like that, versus what they've kept the populace at is, it's been a dumbing down of Americans, a dumbing down of people of the world. But, the Great Awakening will not be stopped. And so we've waited a long time for this time on the planet. It's the time of the prophecies, the fulfillment of the prophecies, the turning of the ages, the creation of a new heaven and new earth through us, the second coming. It's time for people to wake up. And it is a battle between the light and the dark that's gone on forever. But this planet is very, very special. And this planet's going into light, And the question is, how many of her people are going with her? So we're in a really a crucible of change on the planet, or what I call deep shift. We're in very, very deep shift on this planet. The shift has hit the fan of
Yeah.
accelerated evolution.
Some of us are in deep shift and the normies are in deep shit.
Yeah, and it's shift to get off the planet.
Yeah.
It literally is shift to get off the planet because it's going fifth dimensional. We're in the photon belts and, there's different things going on. And the radiation levels on the planet are what you call it an extinction level event. I've worked with a lot of different scientists from NASA and stuff, and it's at extinction level event, just the radiation levels alone. So, we're at this turning point. And we've got to come together as people. It's time. We have to, I talk about unified fields and all that. We've got to come together and be the unified presence that can heal the world. No more divide and conquer, because that's the only way that the counterintelligences or the dark light or the brilliant idiots, as I like to call them, that's the only thing they had going, is they were a lot better organized. But they really do not have the capacities either for going into the higher dimensions that this planet, the 5D realities, which scalar is a part of that, in that it's nonlinear, non-Hertzian, fifth dimensional standing columnar waves beyond relative time and space. So past, present, future is all simultaneous. So Tesla talked about being able to see past, present, future simultaneously between two Tesla coils. Well, people can do that same kind of thing with our technology if they want to, or when they're ready to, or when their higher self wants to reveal that to them. It makes it very easy for that kind of thing. I'll give an example, though. Our technology is designed to bring any and every capabilities to the highest level of potential. It's like a reorganization. A principle of scalar in itself is reorganization to higher levels of function. So there's this reorganization, it's cumulative. And we want to go from the effects of radiation to total radiant, brilliant health, vitality, light force, life force energy in full manifestation here. And so reorganizing to higher levels of function. And people have been doing their own homework for this time. If you want to know your higher purpose, look at everything you've ever done. And what if you could call forth all the wisdom of all your experiences? Well, call forth all the wisdom of your DNA, because the DNA holds the memories of this life, past lives, and genetically, all the memories. Let's call forth all the wisdom of all of it rather than playing out any of the bad D movies of the past. We want all that wisdom called forth to reorganize into a higher level of expression and function and purpose and potential. That's bringing our energies to our highest potential. That's what the exponential is about. So we want to call forth all that wisdom. Now, what do we want to create on this planet? So we've got access to all the wisdom of the ages. We've got access to all the ancestral knowledge from the past, however may pass. Whether you believe in past lives or not doesn't matter. There have been a lot of past lives on this planet. And it's all in our DNA. It's all encoded. So we want to call forth all the wisdom of that and create that new heaven, new earth. And what we have to come together and be the greater community. It's like sacred communion and that communion of souls, because we're going through a battle literally for the souls of mankind. And we want to activate that light within.
Totally agreed. Now, did the Pleiadians have anything to do with the destruction of Atlantis?
With the destruction, I wouldn't say that per se. There were some rogue Pleiadians that dealt with Hitler that were not of the highest beneficial energies.
Okay.
You mentioned Pleiadians have been beneficial.
Right. You mentioned DNA. Your scalar wave technology, does it mess with someone's DNA in any way, shape, or form, or is that DNA left intact as it allows the body to sort of manifest in its right perspective, in the right atmosphere, so that the cells can react accordingly, and they immediately know what to do so that the body could start to repair itself.
It's designed to activate the infinite innate intelligence that's within the DNA, that's within our bodies itself. And the power that made the body, the power that created the body, heals the body. And so it creates an optimal energetic environment where, you know, that light is activating. We're colliding photons and creating a photonic fusion event.
So the DNA is not messed with.
No, it's about maintaining the integrity of the DNA. And actually, the original research when NASA showed up in the late 90s, after we set up our first full system, when NASA showed up, the research that was done by the top geneticists at Baylor University, NASA was studying the effects of our technology. We put it down in Houston, and they were studying the effects on the DNA. And they found there was a repair of all the breaks in the DNA, all the genetic damage. There's a repair of that and a lengthening of telomeres. So that's true age reversal in itself. But it was validation that that's what we had set out to accomplish, was because radiation unzips the DNA. It breaks those bonds, the hydrogen bonds in the DNA. Now, these are unified fields. We put that back together. And with that fusion event, you know, okay, so you got unified fields, putting everything back together. And with that fusion, it creates something called hydrobifurcation, which is a release of the active hydrogen and active oxygen. So on one side, you have the ultimate oxygen therapy for the cells. But on the other side, you've got the active hydrogen, which is your ultimate antioxidant. But it's also that active hydrogen, that's your pH, your hydrogen potential, or the power of hydrogen. You know, cancer can't exist in an alkaline pH. That has to do with, you know, where bodies, and I go back to my electrical engineering side here, but you know, it's every cell's meant to function like a battery.
Yeah.
And you know, so you've got that alkaline battery kind of thing going.
Yeah.
And that's your life force. That's how the light force is able to manifest more fully. But that active hydrogen is also what can repair the covalent hydrogen bonds in the DNA itself. So it's putting the DNA, it's designed to put the DNA or keep the DNA in its original divine design, its original integrity, and activate the latent capabilities that we have as, you know, I mean, that you could talk about it's a transmutation of the species from mankind to humankind. Hu's another name for God. We are the God, you know, divine sons and daughters of God. We are the God beings. And it's time for us to step up into our rightful knowledge and our rightful inheritance. And this planet's meant to be like a Garden of Eden planet. So there are other planets that people can go to if they're not ready to make the shift here, because it's shift or get off the planet on this one. Mm-hmm. This planet's going into light. Yeah. And the question is how many of our people are going with her, but it's a shift that's going on, and it's evolution. So I like to talk about it's, you know, accelerated evolution. How do we create the quantum leaps of consciousness for people? Because it's time to wake up. Yeah. You know, it's just time to wake up and remember who we are and all that we have access to. And as soon as we stand up, the gig's up.
Yeah. Oh, it's, you know, it's going to be up anyway, because you got guys like me and you that are going to beat that drum until we have to buy a new drum, because we beat that first drum to death. And the reality is, you just said something in regards to, you know, that we are enlightened beings. We are literally programmable to go beyond 12th density. And the cabal knows that, and they are terrified. We are genetic royalty.
That is truth. That is absolute truth. And it is that truth that sets us free.
Yeah.
We are free, sovereign sons and daughters of God.
Yeah. Now, you were talking recently with Shirka, Jason, who I have the utmost respect for, by the way, regarding kids being exposed to this technology and immediately after several hours or several weeks of being around this technology, getting incredible grades, and their pineal glands are clean and that kind of stuff. Can you touch on that a little bit more, if you don't mind?
Oh, we've talked a lot about it as far as, when the body has the charge, it wants to discharge everything that doesn't belong. Well, some of that could be calcifications over the pineal gland, which has been done to try to keep the control. Fluoride, for one thing, is
Yep.
number one mind control drug. It shuts down the frontal lobes, and they've been doing anything and everything to try to suppress this great awakening that can't be stopped.
Yeah.
Decalcification sends the calcium back to the bones where it belongs, but that decalcification of the pineal gland. But when the body has the charge, it begins discharging all the heavy metals, the aluminum, the mercuries, all these things. So that's why we see such wonderful responses with kids, with learning difficulties and challenges and things like that. And we have peer-reviewed published studies. I know this has not been the medical talk today, and I'm probably going to get in trouble for this.
No, you won't. No, you won't.
With somebody. So I'm way off topic.
Yeah, we'll keep the conversation under the radar for YouTube purposes. This way we could post this on YouTube, because that's unfortunately that's still where all the eyeballs are at.
We would definitely went into the woo-woo science side versus I'm usually all the quantifiable science. But for kids, it's been absolutely incredible. Where they've really gone into being able to really develop higher abilities, whatever those might be. But those that have played, it's injury recovery and stuff. We've seen great injury recovery where they've gone back into the game and won after supposedly being out for the rest of the season, or they've become one of our EE's system super kids, became top in junior Olympics in the country in judo, or another one became the top pick in nationwide for basketball. But we've had others that with learning challenges where a little boy 6 years old couldn't speak. I mean, he was nonverbal, had every therapy in the world, literally every therapy and treatment in the world. His mother is the queen of rocks. She's the largest crystal dealer on the planet, and had every treatment. At 6 years old, he was still totally nonverbal. Came to our technology and did what I call the scalar slumber party, but he put his forehead. It was very interesting. He came in and, like, in respect, like a little monk, he put his forehead to each of the screens of the technology, then went to the middle. And, so did this, what we call the scalar slumber party, which is great for kids. Absolutely the best thing you could ever do, because it's the ideal, optimal, energetic environment where everything can heal and repair and regenerate and bring everything to the greatest light force energy, because we're raising the millivoltage in the cells and breaking up those calcifications and all that, and creating coherence. So we need kids to be the superheroes. But anyway, this little child, 6 years old, they went home and he slept through the night for the first time ever. Now, how important is that as a parent? I have 4 grandkids. How important is that as a parent? They slept through the whole night. Oh my God. So that was first thing. Then they noticed, they get so frustrated when they're nonverbal, and a lot of frustration, anger issues. And he was happy. He was just plain happy for the first time. And another thing they noticed, he was able to focus. He hadn't been able to do that before. He was focusing and mouthing words. 1 week later, they put him on the phone with me, literally put him on the phone, and he sang his entire ABCs to me. How special is that? I mean, we love that. But so it's designed to bring, back to life. The power that made the body heals the body. This is like plugging the body back into the cosmic light socket. Let's turn the lights on at a cellular level and at a DNA level. And that's our light force energy.
When you got interviewed by Jason Shirka, you guys were going like Mach 10, except there's some challenges in the world called, supply chains broken, this broken, that broken under this resident Biden, not president. Resident Biden. Hopefully things here in the next couple of months, we can make a great announcement and things are going to be moving in the right direction, because I got hundreds and hundreds of customers that I would love to bring to you. Not to mention the fact that my biggest motivation is my mom, who's like a car at the junkyard. She's got a lot of things wrong with her. It's like, try to get a car at the junkyard and restore a car at the junkyard. You got to do what's called an overhaul. You got to go down to bare metal and start over. That's my mom. So she's gone. She's actually going. She's probably in your technology right now. She's got another 4 hours to go on Monday. And hopefully, she's doing 2 hours today and then 4 more hours on Monday. Hopefully that's going to do something. But I think she may need a lot more than that, to be quite honest with you. But
it takes time for the body to do all kinds of, you see improvements right away and crazy miracles. I know after hearing about your mother, I thought about the Cherokee. It was a Cherokee chief that brought his mother, and she had in her late 70s had 8 vertebrae and spinal stenosis, was told she wouldn't make it through the surgery. And so he brought her to Vegas, and she came in to a 16-unit system, just 2 hours a day, every day for a week, and went back. Well, she didn't need her walker after the first time in. This reverses inflammation and things so well because of the active hydrogen, that anti-inflammatory effect, and the oxygen, and just so many cellular mechanisms of action. You can look at the thermography and see the reduction of inflammation. Of course, inflammation is key to any and all disease, aging, and chronic pain is inflammation. So that hydrogen, that antioxidant effect, is going to put out that fire, so to speak, reduce the inflammation. So she didn't need her walker after the first time in. She's feeling much better. Brought her 2 hours a day for a week, went back, and they did the spinal analysis and found that 7 out of 8 vertebrae were perfect. So I said, 7 out of 8, that ain't bad. Come back, let's get the last one. Instead, they went ahead and did a surgery that went exceptionally well, and she's doing awesome. So that's just one miracle with somebody, because that's real breakdown of the body. And that's what we've been kind of known for. Maybe you saw the picture of the general after 3 strokes, his marine reconnaissance, the general. Did you see that in the video?
No, I didn't get to that part, unfortunately.
We showed it in the first interview with Jason.
Okay. Well, if it's there, I'm sure I've seen it.
Yeah, and I think it's also in some of our other stuff. But 3 strokes, total paralysis.
Oh, yeah, I remember that story. Yeah.
Total paralysis, both sides, 3rd-degree burns over his whole body, 77 years old. The VA had sent him to hospice. I said, just get him here, get him to me. And they brought him 4 hours a day. And then after 10 days, you see him standing and the lesions are all gone. And he did, not all the paralysis was gone, but his brain was on fire. He was brilliant, back to his full and able to fully care for himself, versus everybody thought he was dead when they carried him in, and literally carried him in. And he looked like he was dead. So
my mom would be, ideal situation for her would be, if she could have the 40 machines that this gentleman who's a retired surgeon. My mom is not anywhere near that level of wealth where she could afford to do that. But if she could afford to do that and be around that environment for 3-4 weeks, I told her, I swear to you, I believe in this technology. I know I've sent people to your facility in Ohio, to your facilities in New York, New Jersey, California, everywhere, and they all report back to me. It's like I've become like this newscaster of sort, pizza guy gone newscaster, crazy stuff. Anyway, I want to talk about the telling.
What's some of that news? I want to hear some of the stories. That's what I know.
My pizza stories.
Yeah, no, the news that you're getting from the people
Oh, the people
Ohio
are,
and
oh,
Georgia.
I'll give you one. James Anthony goes with his entire family. They drive, he's in New Mexico. I don't know where they drove to. I would think they probably came to your place in Las Vegas. Possible, right? 4 hours one way, 5 hours back. The daughter is complaining all the way up. She say, this technology is not going to work. This is a joke. What are you talking about? Frequency, right? They get there. Every single one of us, there's 4 family members went in for a 2-hour session. Every single one of them had chronic, elements that were years and years and years, pain. Okay. And one had the spinal, one had knee stuff, the other one had hip stuff. They all had stuff. They came out as if it never even existed. I got this on video that I was told not to release yet.
Yeah.
I have it saved.
Yeah.
Not yet. It's that powerful. And we're saving it for the right time. We'll shoot that ammunition when the time comes.
They probably went to there's a 24 unit center here in Vegas called Las Vegas Holistic Center.
And that might be the one they went to. But anyway,
they went there.
Yeah. And then another gentleman who has got money in hand, he's got, $150,000 that's burning a hole in his pocket. He said, I want the machines. I want them now. But I said, do me a favor. What's the closest place to you? Ohio. Okay. He drove to Ohio. I happened to call him to give him the bad news that we're not taking any new orders right now. And he's driving back from the center, basically saying, oh my God, it's unbelievable. I feel like I'm brand new. Okay. And, story after story, these are people who are not paid actors. These are people,
Right.
regular, ordinary people that are experiencing stuff. My question to you is this. I would love to interview the gentleman, for example.
By the way, that was just an 8-unit system in Ohio, although
right, I believe so.
They want to put it to a 24 now, but
right.
Everybody's in a queue in line. Yeah, we are taking orders. People are signing up to be in the queue and taking deposits. And so we're fulfilling orders. We're ramping up all of our production. Right. And it's ramping up extraordinarily well.
Good. We'll talk about that off camera, you and I, because I definitely need to know what's going on.
Like the medallions like you're wearing, these little buggers really work. And at least you got one down there to Costa Rica, but we got our medallions.
I got 95,000 people that love me. So I got a lot of people that want to come down and bring stuff for me,
They brought you presents. Yeah, these are the high tech and the low tech model. These are going out all over the world. We've exhausted so much of the supply. We made huge orders, but these are all natural stones in that toroidal shape. But it becomes high tech and the low tech the way the technology embeds in this, and it helps maintain the integrity of the DNA and the integrity of the red blood cells. And we have crazy miracles with these because it does like a 5-foot cocoon of energy and transmutation into beneficial or like electrical precursors to the body.
I sleep with mine on.
Yeah. And you sleep better, right?
Yes. Yeah.
We get all kinds of reports back. I had one person say, somebody gifted me a medallion and a bracelet, and now I don't need my reading glasses anymore. Or another one said 20 years of acid reflux is gone after wearing my medallion. So these are great. It's a small, portable, affordable piece. But we had put in orders like more than 2 months ago. And we got a partial order in yesterday with some medallions. And now I just heard the planes were delayed, this, that, customs, this, that. So we're finally getting that order in Monday.
Yeah. we're gonna get Trump back and everything's gonna get fixed. Not to get off track. Let's get back on track. Let's talk about telomeres. Because when I heard the story about the surgeon who put 40 of these units around his house, I said, brilliant. Obviously he's more of a different class of guy. He's got the money to be able to wherewithal to be able to do that. Not everybody's in that situation. However, he went from walking on a walker, his bones were deteriorating. He had osteoporosis. And then all of a sudden he's off the walker. He's back to playing tennis. His hair is turning back to dark.
Because I don't have a single gray hair now.
He's playing tennis.
Less than a 24 unit because the difference is so astounding. He had a 24 unit and 2 8s. So 40 units in his huge estate, 8 around a bed, 8 in his office, and 24. that he would sleep in on a surgical mat.
Wow. Wow.
He goes,
Yeah.
why would anybody do less than 24? Because the difference is just so astounding. 24 is the geometry of the DNA, and that's where a lot of the real magic is.
Yeah.
But the technology works. All of our clinicals, I recommend people go to the research page and read the clinicals, and those were almost all done with either a 4-unit or an 8-unit system.
Right. Now, the telomeres obviously are getting longer because the only way the hair goes from white to silver to black is because the telomeres are going the opposite way, which means you're prolonging. So when your telomeres are basically your biological clock. When those telomeres are gone, you're gone. You're no longer here. So if those telomeres are going the opposite way, I just told her she called me on the phone about an hour before we're doing this podcast, and we had a little conversation. I said, tell me, if the telomeres are going the other way, we're prolonging life, which means I don't know for sure because we don't have a time capsule where we can travel into the future 300-400 years. But I said, I'd be willing to bet that your technology is probably going to be the technology that's going to allow people to live 300-400 years going into the future. Because I think even your technology, even though as great as it is, there's probably room for improvement, correct?
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
We have plans, but it's doing miracles. We see miracles, hear miracles 24/7.
Absolutely.
Great.
So would I be able to?
And it's like Tesla's work. It goes through the earth.
Mhm.
So it's a field technology. So a system that goes in expands the fields exponentially. That's why it had to go out initially into private homes, so that it was laying the foundation all over the world, the foundation, so that because when it goes out now, it has to be everywhere fast, so it can't be
Sure.
But initially, it was putting in private homes all
Mhm.
over the world, and so more than 90% of the systems were in private homes around the bed,
Mhm.
and people can just imagine what it does for sleeping.
Let's talk about your technology being in an area of, say, you got 24 machines, which is the perfect amount of machines to have. Now, let's say we have a huge location with maybe 8,000 to 10,000 square feet of space, and we could fit 100 people. Does it work less or more or the same because you have 100 people? As long as you're within that fire code and you're not breaking any fire codes, 100 people sleeping overnight, whatever, doing, like you say, a slumber party. Bring your own sleeping bag, sleep on the floor. In this technology, you put on some nice little, the right kind of Hertz music, and voila. Is that doable?
Or silence. Silence could be golden on those slumber parties too. And actually, in our initial clinicals, very interesting thing happened. We talk about the DNA and stuff, but in the clinicals, we used no music because we didn't want any other variable besides, just the units. And I only allowed the initial clinicals were 2001 with John Hopkins, trained oncologist in a cancer clinic, 4 units. Because I was afraid to let doctors know what it was doing, for one thing. But anyway, one of the things that was interesting was people came out going, where can I get that music that you were playing in there? They'd hear the music of the spheres, or they'd hear chanting, or they were sure that somebody was doing like a drum circle or a Native American ceremony, or the angels were singing, and they were all asking for the CDs, or they were sure that there was a shaman that came in. There was something going on. And this is the music, literally coming up from the DNA, the memories in the DNA. So it was one very, very interesting thing. Another thing is that people experience a time warp. So he said, eventually he said, the less you tell people, the better. Just put them in the room and don't let them out for 2 hours. He said, the less you tell them, just put them in the room, close the door, don't let them out for 2 hours. He said it takes the first hour for them to work through their monkey brain, so to speak, and the self-talk, the negative talk, and whatever it is. And you want enough time to get to the deeper delta and theta brain states, to internalize the energy, because that's where all healing and repair is really done. So you want to get to the deeper states where it gives the body more time to use the energy. And he said, when they come out, they don't have any questions.
So if you have 100 people in the
Second
room,
hour, they just have a real experience.
yeah.
So yeah, right. Yeah. And we've done large ballrooms. We've done 5,000 square foot warehouses. It's meant to go into stadiums eventually. Right now, there is an auditorium in Utah that's going to be able to accommodate 100 people at once. I think it's opening up Monday or something. So that one's just about ready. The more the merrier. Everybody's getting,
it's not going, it's not like if there's more people in the room, they're not stealing my scalar wave that can benefit me.
No.
Because we are antennas at the end of the day, aren't we?
Yeah, and the DNA is like an antenna. It's wireless transmission. And with having more people, there's more, it's like amplified. If anything, more is better.
So it's actually better.
Better. Yes, actually, it's better. Although it's unique to be in a room by yourself with it and just have your own experience. That's why a lot of people put it around their beds. But now we've got a lot, we've got so much to turn around fast on the planet. So we need these bigger centers in.
Well, this conversation definitely took a turn. I don't know if it's for the better or the worse, but because I had a whole bunch of stuff written down over here and we haven't used practically any of it because I haven't been jotting down some notes as we're talking. And it just took a whole different turn. And that's usually when it comes out the best. But you did advocate taking salt baths and eating the proper diet, mostly vegan, mostly organic, etc. Wouldn't it be beneficial for somebody who's at the beach? Obviously, I understand the machines well enough to know that if they're in a salt environment, they're not going to last 30 years like the ones that are not in a salt environment, who are maybe,
Right.
19,000, 1,900 feet of elevation in the mountains with fresh air, like Costa Rica. But if you have like air filtration systems and you have solar power and you have, plenty of air conditioning, but you're at the beach, and instead of doing the salt baths, I want to jump in the ocean for 2 or 3 hours before I do my session. Would that be beneficial?
That'd be great before you do your session. Absolutely. Yes. That's fantastic. Love the ocean. For me, life's a beach.
I love me and you are definitely.
I need my vitamin C, SEA. Oh, yes. I'm really a mermaid, in case you couldn't tell. It's great for hair.
Well, you just graduated to being my sister from another mother. You understand that? Okay.
Yeah, so ocean's important. However, that is not going to do the detox. You need a hot salt bath to open up the capillaries, open up the pores. When I say a salt bath, and you need a stronger salt solution than what's in the ocean. So correct. I recommend in a tub a minimum of 1 pound of salt. That's 2 cups of salt. Okay.
Okay, sea salt, not Epsom salt.
Not Epsom salts, exactly. Sea salt or real salt from Utah, or, Himalayan salt. I mean, Celtic salt, Dead Sea salt. We use a mixture when we do our EE salt. It's a mixture of all these different salts because they all have different energies and frequencies. And Hawaiian salt and the red salt and all these different salts salt is so important. And that is part of our, we're the salt of the earth. And salt is really important for the electrical functioning in our body. So it also works with the charge through our body. The salt-free diet thing, just drove up all kinds of diabetes rates and things because the body requires good salt. Now, I'm not talking Morton's.
No. Yeah, I got rock sea salt. We found boxes of rock sea salt right before the C-19, pandemic, right? And I said to my wife, "Where did you get this?" Because the sea salt in Costa Rica, ironically, they put fluoride. They used to never put fluoride in the water. Now they put in the fluoride in the water and the salt. And so she got these boxes, and they were from Palermo, Sicily. I said, "Where did you get these?" She said, "At Roseville." I said, "Do me a favor. Go back and empty the shelf. Bring them all home." I'm running out of it now, but I've had like 4 years of this salt, and it was wonderful. I'm down to my last like 1/4 pound, which I got to go find some more.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's awesome stuff.
So the sea salt bath is really crucially important because it works with the charge in the body. You've got the world's easiest detox. The body has the energy, and now with that charge, it's trying to discharge. It's trying to push toxins out of every nook and cranny it can get it out of. Well, the skin is the largest organ of elimination. It's the third kidneys. You want to take all the stress off the kidneys. You know, the kidneys are important. We want to take the stress off of them. The skin is the largest organ. So the salt will act like a magnet and pull the toxins and you want to breathe. It takes breath for energy to move. That's your respiration. Let everything dissolve into the water and let it go down the drain. But you need that salt to pull it. The bath for I've been working with the salt bath and since my spa in the early 70s, individual salt bath, detox baths then. So the bath for radiation, which is what we're dealing with now, it's, everybody is dealing with acute radiation poisoning. So 2 cups salt, 2 cups baking soda is the bath for radiation. 2 cups salt, 2 cups baking soda. So that's what I recommend. And then on top of that, what we're dealing with are these synthetic biologies, nanobots, spike proteins, which 26 patents on a spike protein, according to Dr. David Martin's work. That's not natural to the body. That's a synthetic biology, these spike proteins. And then they're injecting them and people are sharing them and there's all that stuff. So very, very important. What I'm recommending with that, and this is another thing that works with decalcification and pulling of the fluoride out of the body, is put a cup of borax, 20 mule team borax. That's your boron deposit, but 20 mule team borax that you get in the laundry aisle. So this is inexpensive stuff, but this is what people need to know as far as really, really important for helping to detox a lot of the stuff that we're dealing with efficiently. And so 2 cups salt, 2 cups baking soda, a cup of borax, hot. You want, not scalding, but hot enough to open up the pores, the capillaries, so the salt can pool. And I'll give an example. I'm allowed to share this because my dear friend, Patriot Street Fighter. Scott McKay.
Scott McKay, absolutely.
Yeah, he was here, got him totally out of pain, which is a miracle for as much metal as he has in his body. But the first bath, I have a large bathtub, so he's able to get in there and do it. And it was like sand in the bottom of the whole bottom of the tub was like filled with like sand from crystallized stuff being pulled out of the body. Other people, I had a master metal worker, Native American, but had the contracts for doing, bridges and things like that. Master metal worker, billion-dollar company doing all the government contracts work. Anyway, the first thing you notice is the pain, his acute chronic pain was relieved after his first session from an accident that he'd been in. And he woke up every day with chronic pain in his hip and his legs. Okay, so that cleared, but he said the first 6 baths he did turned the color of steel. And he said it felt like steel shavings in the bottom of the tub. And so he got his magnet, and sure enough, it picked up all the metal. So that's a really good metal detox.
Wow.
He's going to try to push out all the metals. I talked about detoxing the aluminum and the mercury, these things that have created some of the learning challenges in kids. But all these heavy metals, well, all the radiolytic isotopes, your plutonium and cesium and things like that are also heavy metals. So you want to pull that out in the tub.
The recipe
easiest detox.
Yeah, the recipe you just described was advocated by another doctor not too long ago because of all the poisoning with that thing that goes in, right?
Yeah,
Where we can't mention that word because somebody feels that they own the language, not for long. You'll be owning the language that's down in Guantanamo, down in Castro territory. Baking soda. Let's go back to baking soda. I am a big advocate of baking soda.
Right.
I take an average of about 8 to 10 pills every 3-4 days. just to keep alkaline. Because you know when your body goes acidic, you could smell it in your pee.
Right.
It starts to smell different. It's got this pungent smell. Then you know you're going acidic. You better start taking 7, 8, 10, but depending on your body size of the baking soda tablets, which I buy on Amazon, and you can buy
Which is
from.
really
Yes.
critical and important. And who wrote a lot about that is my good friend, Dr. Robert Young.
Mhm.
Dr. Robert Young, who's a master of the live blood cell analysis, but he also did analysis of all 4 of those special formulas that they were putting into people and found graphene, the graphene oxides and parasites in all 4 of them. But his book, his book, The pH Miracle. And this is where we talk about the importance of hydrogen in alkalinizing the body. But he talks about that a lot in The pH Miracle. One of his books is The pH Miracle for Cancer, that kind of thing. So very, very important work. I'd highly recommend that people take a look at his work. Dr. Robert Young. .com, I believe, and read some of his research. I presented some of his research, the microscopy and the analysis, at one of the conferences for him that he couldn't attend. So very, very important work. We're also both commissioners on the International Tribunal for Natural Justice. But after he released that information on the analysis of all 4 of those formulas, they came after him, and essentially he's been under attack. So hopefully we have all these people going on a little vacation down to that island.
Yes, that special island. Absolutely. Now you had mentioned something about the med beds, and you said the med beds. I tend to agree with you. There's a lot of people that are into the RV and the XRP, which is we're big advocates of. And there's my mom calling, and I don't know why that's ringing, but it is. And I just hung up on my mom. But anyway, we'll get to her later. But you had said something that absolutely resonated with me. I don't believe things happen fast. Not on this earth, not with the people that we still have. Some of the people in charge that are bad actors are not going to allow these things to exist because they don't want to see the betterment of humanity. Obviously, these people are going to be off planet at some point. But you had said something to the fact that med beds will get here, but they're not going to get here pretty much as fast as we all want them, right? And we all want them yesterday. But I believe your technology still will have a place as a maintenance application after the med beds
Even
do
when
get
those show up, they're not in production. They're one person at a time. Okay, great, but how do we heal the world?
That's all you need. You're going to need millions and millions of med beds, literally.
Yeah, and this is, you can put as many people as you want. And we've been seeing anything and everything they've talked about with the med beds we've been seeing, except for limb replacement. But we do have some advancements for doing that. Okay. We do have that in the pipeline, but that's the only thing. Everything else we've seen. And it's not just one person at a time. It's not practitioner or operator or doctor dependent, which these other things are. So it's like, how do we bring healing to the world? It's also doing a 2.2 mile radius of a null zone effect, that nullification of detrimental fields. The hyper healthy energies in the system with the biophotonics, because the DNA is biophotonic, but it's also doing like earth acupuncture and feeding the grids within the planet and around the planet. Like I said, this was developed. How do we bring healing to the world? We've got a whole bunch to turn around here. And how do you override these other technologies with the higher power, the power of love? So how do you flip, the detrimental effects of all the abuse of the scalar technologies?
Absolutely. I'm having an incredible time having a conversation with you. I think this is great. I wanted to know when you were on these ships with people not necessarily from around here, did they give you any other kind of technology that you're not exactly telling us everything you got in your arsenal, so to speak?
Mostly it's further applications of what we've created.
Okay.
Yeah, there's a lot further applications for the cleanup of, well, and some of it we have in motion already, and that's for the cleanup of Fukushima and the oceans, the advanced radiation remediation, water remediation, soil remediation. There's so many applications. There's so much to fix on this planet, and it's meant to be a paradise planet.
It really is. It really is. So you've been sandbagging on us a little bit, Doctor.
Sandbagging?
You've been sandbagging some of the technology you haven't told us about, because I know no one's ever asked you that question, I don't believe.
Well, and I talk about the future, further things that we can do and we have in progress. But
Okay.
in the meantime, we are here right now,
Okay.
and the medallions and bracelets are phenomenal, but we also charge product. This is not our company,
Mhm.
Clarity. Claire 8T, the 8 stands for the infinity. It stands for, the 8 is the infinity, right?
Sure.
It
Sure.
stands for the scalar vortex. This is a company that we hypercharge product for. I don't know if anybody can see that, but Trinity is the name of this particular product from them. Phenomenal nutrigenomic products that carry the charge into the body exceptionally well.
Mhm.
So there's a number of products that we work with. So that's a company that we work with to charge their product. And so that's really, really powerful to go from within as well as without, from
Right.
outside in, from inside out. And that'd be something I would recommend for your mother. Their main product is something called Calibrate. And we talk about recalibration chambers, Calibrate with an 8. And it's a nutrigenomic that the main ingredient in it is sulforaphane from broccoli sprouts. And then black seed, like black cumin seed, which what they say about black seed is that, it cures everything but death. That's what the saying is about black seed and black seed oil.
Black seed oil. I use black seed oil.
Yeah, black seed oil is fantastic. So it has that in there. It has the sulforaphane from broccoli sprouts, has shilajit, which is great for your trace minerals and humic and fulvic acids and things like that. And anyway, it's chaga mushrooms. It's a nutrigenomic that you put in water and it tastes good. Believe it or not, you put it in water, shake it up, and the elderly, everybody loves the taste. It's great product, and it's hypercharged on top.
We put it in our shakes a lot of times here, like banana shakes, whatever. We have an organic banana tree in the back. Can you believe that?
Yeah. No, I understand. We have that in Hawaii.
So let me jump the gun here a little bit, because I remember talking to Jason. I did an interview with him not too long ago, and we talked about.
Get to hear that. I didn't get to hear that one.
I'll send you the link to that one. It was very interesting. He had mentioned the fact that a facility had opened. I forget exactly where, and let's call it a strip mall for a lack of a better explanation. And I think 2 or 3 doors down, there was a gentleman that was getting ready to go have knee replacement surgery. And what happened was, because the technology radiates much further than where it's just located, this gentleman started to feel much better, because he actually had these jugs of water, these 5-gallon jugs of water in the cooler, what we're talking about. And the water was being charged as well. So he was drinking the water. And because that's where his place of business was, 2 doors down from this, location that was radiating this scalar wave technology that you so gratefully invented, a week later, he starts feeling a lot less pain. 2 weeks later, he's got no more pain. 3 weeks later, he's calling his doctor, canceling the surgery. Okay. So how far does this energy permeate? And if I'm next door, let's say if I have
just from a little cube, actually, in the back of a car shop.
What's that?
That was just from one of our cubes. It's the baby system in the back of a car shop.
Really?
Yeah, and it has a
Wow.
commercial application because of reducing the surface tension. And so it was being used for ceramic coatings for cars because it made it go on twice as easy, twice as smooth, twice as fast. These ceramic
Wow.
coatings. And so it's in the back, but then he has the veterans coming and sitting around it because their knee pains are gone and stuff like that. But the
Yeah.
guy with the guy with, this is in Hawaii, and the guy with the gym 2 doors down, the veteran, was scheduled for bilateral knee replacements, bone on bone, cartilage gone. And the guy now squats 475 pounds on those bad knees.
Wow. So, it's like, you just opened up a can of worms for me because now I'm going to start getting calls from car washes. Hey, Mel, I heard Dr. Sandra says that the wax goes on easier, it comes off, and the car is shinier. I want one of those machines, So,
Yeah, it makes water wetter. It reduces the surface tension of water. That's part of how it works in the body too. Makes everything fluid. The
so
blood free
basically, it
flowing.
allows the cells to absorb the water much better because I drink a
Yeah.
lot of water, you
Yeah,
know.
but getting it
Um,
translated into the cells is the key. So
mhm,
now you've got your medallion, or you can take a bracelet, for example, and put it on that water bottle, or just
mhm.
hold it to that and wait. I show people it's a science experiment. Everything as a kid, everything was a science experiment. So, but anyway, if you hold it up with your medallion, you'll feel when it actually gets heavier because that's the effect on the hydrogen atoms. And you can taste it and it'll be much smoother. But it's really fun to do that, more fun to do that with wine.
So can I
Yeah,
drop this in water too?
you don't have to drop it in the water.
You have to
Just
just put it by the water.
hold the medallion or the bracelet to the bottle. You see what I'm doing? Just
Yeah, yeah.
hold it to the bottle and you'll feel, or the glass, and you'll feel when it gets heavier. It's really quite fascinating. It takes about
Interesting.
30 to 45 seconds or so. You'll feel the difference, and
That's amazing.
makes water wetter. But that's what it does in the body, and that's part of how you get the microcirculation and the fluidity, where
So
everything
if
is
your
free-flowing.
cells are absorbing more of the moisture, they
Mhm.
won't get as sick as fast.
Yeah, a lot of dis-ease is just from acute chronic dehydration. And it generally takes about 10% of the body's energy just to get water into the cellular structures. If you have a high surface tension of the water,
Mm,
it's just not going to absorb.
right.
That kind of thing. So yeah. So what it does for water is great, and that explains a lot of how the technology actually works with the body. And you've got that microcirculation. You can look at the before and after the blood. We did a lot of blood studies. You can actually pull it up on the research page, and you're looking at blood before and after 1 hour, and stagnant, sticky blood, where it's all what you call rouleau, where it's stacked, it's stuck together. That's actually hypoxia, where the blood is not carrying enough oxygen for proper organ function or for proper brain function. You see it, sticky blood, it all stuck together. And afterwards, in 1 hour, you see it's all fully oxygenated and fully free flowing. It's really rather powerful.
Yeah.
So that eliminates a lot of the clotting issues and
Mhm.
things like that.
Yeah. So you've been at this for quite some time, as I understand. You were an herbalist or rather a chiropractor, acupuncturist, etc. And you created this technology based on the downloads or being hang around on these massive ships. I talked to your son. We had about 35, 40-minute conversation when I introduced him to the gentleman that hopefully can help you, which I believe he can. And he basically said that there were a lot of people out there that ridiculed you, thought you were a complete quack job, etc. Could you tell us a little bit about this, just for shits and giggles, and so that we can make it a little bit entertaining for the audience?
Well, I've been teaching over 45 years, so you name it, I have seen it, dealt with it, etc. And so it has been interesting. And I wasn't ever technically a chiropractor because I was trained in chiropractic, reflexology, nutrition, Ayurveda, and I did all the research, did all the college courses, did all the different things, but but then I was also trained by masters like Dr. Virgil Crane, who sent back his chiropractic license. So every time I almost went to chiropractic school, I realized I didn't fit the model, because it become too focused on pathologies. And I thought that was pathological. So, because this is all about, the power that made the body heals the body. Dr. Virgil Crane sent back his chiropractic license and called it the religion of chiropractic, and founded something called the alpha biotic alignment process. And I was in the very first class he ever taught. His father had taught it in chiropractic school as a Crane condyle adjustment, but I had been trained by chiropractors from multiple years back. And then I also worked with Donnie Epstein, who also, I believe, ended up sending back his chiropractic license. He started network chiropractic, which became network spinal analysis and stuff like that, because we don't really fit that model per se. But every healing modality, yes, I've worked with it, researched, studied, but I was recognized as the top healer on the planet for many years. And that's what I put into this technology. But then with making that shift, they're going, no, why are you doing that? You should just be doing what you do as a healer. But there's only so many people I could personally teach or touch or train. Even my own students thought I'd gone nuts, that I was working on technology. What? For healing? What?
Yeah.
I didn't quite understand.
Yeah. Now, Jason was approached by an organization, the TLS, I believe it's called, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, standing for the light system, TLS. Yes.
Right. And you supposedly also received some kind of download, being able to create what's called holographic med beds. Are you aware of talking about that?
Well, no, I was told to create what I created. Yes, that was a download done.
So this is what you got right now.
Yeah, and I was recognized as being part of TLS July 11th, 2011, as part of the holographic leadership council for that. And so that's why, which was very secretive. And that's why it was very interesting that it was, TLS and TLS, you can, hear more about it from Jason Shirka, obviously, but it's been a very secretive organization, kind of like a CIA of special forces for doing divine intervention to work with the evolution of the planet, essentially.
Interesting. Interesting. And you were wearing a shirt. This is, again, these last two questions I'm giving you are from my friend Darren and Gina in Oregon. You were wearing a shirt. Now we got to be very careful with our language a little bit on this one, that said "Save the Children." We know what that is all about. Can you tell us a little bit about that? Why you were wearing the shirt, etc., please? Yeah,
because that's why we do what we do. Save the kids. And the kids are where it's at, and also because that's my Patriot Street Fighter shirt. We mentioned Scott McKay. That's my Street Fighter T-shirt.
I'm a big fan. Tell him when next time you talk to him.
I will tell him that.
Yeah.
And because I'll be talking to him. And by the way, I'm speaking tomorrow for the Truth Tour.
Oh, okay.
Grand finale of the Truth Tour here in Vegas. Tomorrow it's all day event that Scott was to be at. I don't know if he's making it, so I'll be representing him. But yeah, and that shirt, Save the Kids, relates also to a lot of the work that I've done, because I was doing a lot of work as a healer with the children or with adults that had been trafficked. experiences and a
Yeah.
lot of that. And
Can you
yeah.
also verify the tunnels they were saying? Obviously we got to be very careful with our language because so far we did good. So far this is YouTube friendly, and maybe except for the last couple parts right here but we know what happened in the tunnels, and we know about
Yes.
the trafficking and all of that.
And that's how Jason originally showed up on my radar, because I heard about the rescues going in the DUMBs, the deep underground
Yes.
facilities, the tunnels, and I work so much now with so many of the special forces guys that can't unsee what they've seen in those tunnels. It's the underpinning, it's the dark underbelly of everything we're dealing with, and that's what needs exposed and brought out and addressed. And so we also work with that. I'm a commissioner on the International Tribunal for Natural Justice. International Tribunal for Natural Justice. That's ITNJ.org, if people want to look that up. We did the emergency hearings. We did like 8 emergency hearings at the beginning of COVID.
Yeah.
Actually, whatever we want to call that, the CBDC.
Yeah. You mentioned also in one of your interviews, I believe it was also with Shirka, where we are going to experience 1,000 years of peace. So that leads me to believe that you know all about Jasara, Nasara, the quantum financial system, XRP, the ZIMS, the dinars, the low-lying satellites, the nodes residing in the satellites, the 17th letter in the alphabet, the movement, etc. I think you know all about that, correct?
That's correct. Absolutely.
Yeah. Are you an investor in XRP?
I can validate and verify all that. No, I'm not. I'm not an investor in XRP, but
are you an investor in the ZIMS or the NARS?
Well, I'm ready for the shift.
Yeah, you know what? You're absolutely right. We're not going to need any of this stuff. Money's going to go away. I keep saying that.
Money doesn't really mean anything from where I'm from. I do know that my whole life I was promised that this thing in this life would be this great transference of wealth. I was told about this great transference of wealth. And I had people from mystery schools in the Philippines come and find me and validate that, yes, and confirm that I'd be part of the release of the gold and the abundance from what's in those tunnels. And those, that's been kept for this time. Anyways, and yes, I work with, these different operations. And, I can talk about Admiral Robert Killian, who's the professor of nuclear and quantum physics in Reno. Yeah. And and so, yes, we've had very deep discussions.
Yeah. We might have to put this whole video unedited on Rumble and then just chop up maybe 6 or 7 minutes of it so that we could make it YouTube friendly, and then just leave the ending of this on YouTube, and that will work just fine. I had an incredible time. I absolutely adore your work. I can't wait to actually do another interview with you as things evolve and humanity is waking up. It's a tough road ahead. We have still quite a few people to wake up. We understand.
Yeah, but it's the time, if you talk about the 1,000 years of peace. We read Revelation. I read that Bible 6 times cover to cover by the time I was 12, because I'm in the bloodline of Martin Luther. He led a Reformation. It's in my blood, but I studied that Bible and Revelation and all that. So the 1,000 years of peace and the prophecies, we're at that time, and the Great Awakening will not be stopped. And the abundance that is promised, that we should inherit, it's coming, and it's all in place. It's all ready. And we know this.
Yeah, we could feel it. We could see it. We could smell it. We could almost touch it, but we can't prove it because people want to see it on CNN, and it doesn't exist on CNN or Fox. And they're just going to have to get used to that fact. We are the new newscasters
We are the news now. My dear friend Scotty Sachs talks
Yes.
about how we are the news now. Absolutely. In this time of revelation, there's going to be the great revealing and the exposure of all this stuff being exposed and coming out, all the suppressed stuff. You know, no more secrets that the words fly free is actually a Hawaiian chant. There's no
Yes.
more secrets. Everything's going to come out. It's all going to be exposed, bringing the dark to light.
Yeah.
And
Dr.
the
Sandra,
great
it was an absolute pleasure. Tell me you'll come back, please.
oh, you got me so off topic on things I don't normally
But
talk
you know
about.
what? I wanted to go that way because I wanted to make a very different interview. But if I would have stuck to this interview, it would have been more like everybody else. And I wanted to just go in a different direction. I'm the salmon that swims upstream. I'm the guy that, does 180 degrees what everybody else does. But I think a lot of our audience, they were so intrigued with you saying, you're making the hint that you were on these spaceships, that I think they're going to be very pleased with this interview. I thank you so much. Mahalo.
Hard-carrying member of those councils.
Yes.
Voting member
Yes.
of those councils.
We'll say goodbye to the audience.
And just want to say aloha to everybody. We love miracles, and it's time. It's time. We've waited a long time. Glad we're here. Whole new world.
Absolutely. And we'll make it happen, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take people like her, people like me, people like you that have the gift of gab, but you're deadly afraid. Don't be afraid. Just you get a microphone for $29 at Amazon, whatever. You get yourself a nice, decent computer, get on the air and start speaking your mind. I bet you by the time you get to 100 videos, you're going to get pretty darn good at it. Then you can flush the old videos and just keep going. You know what I mean? It's that simple. But we all got to beat the drum.
The more people that step up and speak truth, the more others will speak truth. And the truth vibrates and resonates in the cells. That's that cellular resonation. Yeah. And the more people that speak truth, that's what'll set us all free. And if you hold back out of fear, we don't need any more fancy victims. We need to step up.
Exactly.
And speak truth and really get out there.
Yeah, we're not here to become rock stars, although it's happening by default anyway, not our intent, but we want as many people. I'm not interested in having, 29 million people following me all over the internet, et cetera. I'm interested in you becoming the rock star so that I can work myself out of a job, because I did my job because I recruited 100,000 people that are now beating the drum, that have 100,000 channels. That's what I want to do. You know what I mean?
And fear and God cannot share the same space. And fear was only thinking there was something bigger than God.
Yes. Stay on, doctor. Thank you, guys. We'll see you on the next one.